Right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Connected Health Ecosystem. My name is Neil Speak. I'm Professor of Health Informatics at the University of Manchester, and I lead the Digital Futures Health and Care theme within the university. And in that capacity, I'm chairing today's Connected Health Ecosystem meeting. People are still coming, still joining the call, but I suggest we do make a start anyway. We've got 90 minutes today, and the focus is going to be very much on the East Netherlands Development Agency. So let me talk you through the agenda of today's meeting. So the East Netherlands Development Agency is a publicly funded agency that helps businesses who have an interest in getting a foothold in the east of Netherlands. But obviously that also provides a wider gateway to the Netherlands and the rest of Europe. And we felt it was really useful to invite them to speak today at the ecosystem meeting with the 1st of January, Brexit looming in the very near distance. So we've got Marloes de Goeyen and Rick Luijmers from the East Netherlands speaking today during the first hour of the meeting. And then after 11, we will have Robert O'Dowd from Real Health, which is a UK-based company focusing on pain management, who is going to give an industry perspective. So the talks by Marloes and Rick will be followed by a Q&A, and then Robert's talk will also be followed by a Q&A, and we should be finishing by 11:25. We've got quite a few people on the call, so could I ask you to stay on mute always, and if you have any questions, then please enter them into the chat, and I will read them to the speakers. Obviously, you're free to enter questions at any point during the presentation. You don't have to wait until we enter that Q&A slot. And please add your name so we can identify your question. We are tweeting about the event. And if you're tweeting as well, then please use the hashtag MCR Ecosystem. And I'd just like to note that the event is being recorded for promotional purposes. So just that you are aware. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Marloes de Goeyen from the East Netherlands Development Agency. So Marloes, many thanks for joining us today. It's a great pleasure to have you. And the floor is entirely yours.
Thank you very much, Niels. And it's great to be here also. When we were first in touch about this event, we still had the silent hope that we could do this in person, which would have been a lot nicer than just looking at a screen, not knowing who my audience is anyway. But hey, technology can solve a lot for us today. So it's still great to be here in this capacity. And I do hope that in the future we get to repeat this and actually have interactions with the audience and all of you that are listening probably from home. So, well, nice to meet you from a distance. I've been told I can share my screen and have a few slides. I think this should be it. And I hope this works.
Yes, we can see that. Thanks.
Perfect. Can you see it because I don't see it full screen right now.
No, we don't see it full screen either. So
let me try something else. Sorry about this. That should work.
Yeah, that's it.
Perfect, thank you. So again, great to be speaking to you today from the East Netherlands. I'll give a short introduction as to where both myself and Rick, my colleague, are speaking from in geographical terms, but also give you a little bit of history as to why we're talking to you today. That is because as the Netherlands, we do invest actively right now into our British relations because we do have a very good, not only business partner, but also European partner in the UK. And we would like to maintain that relationship also after this year. So the Netherlands does a lot of foreign relations in terms of business and in terms of also foreign investment into the country, businesses that are expanding from whatever country in the world they're in to the Netherlands, and we actively guide them with this. This is done by the Netherlands Investment Agency, the NFIA, but also by regional organizations such as our own OostNL, which basically means Netherlands. So we do this in a broader network, meaning that I basically work for the Netherlands, but specifically for the East Netherlands, into helping British companies set up in our region or in the Netherlands, especially right now. So I myself am dedicated to the British relations, both British relations in our region, as well as British companies in the UK that are looking to expand their business, mostly in light of Brexit at the moment, to really help secure their position on the European market. So that's a little bit of background as to why we're here today. Now, I can imagine, and this, yeah, there we go. I can imagine that Brexit right now is being overshadowed, obviously, by the COVID crisis. So we're dealing with two crises here. Let's try to focus on one today. And it remains unclear to a lot of people as to where Brexit stands. So I'll give you a short overview of where we are today. The negotiations have been extended once again to at least tomorrow. That is to say that they started a new round of negotiations last week, I believe, in Brussels. And although that wasn't looking so hopeful, they have extended that over the weekend so that they can speak until tomorrow in hopes of both parties coming closer together. It's really difficult to sort of estimate what the outcome of that would be. And the bottom line of that is that nothing is agreed until everything's agreed. So I cannot give you for certain an outcome of, for example, what this would mean for the medical world, or what this would mean for pharmaceutical companies, or what this would mean for the free movement of people, because the underlying message is that we will only agree on a full package deal. And why haven't we found an agreement on that? That's because of basically two main issues. Those are the level playing field, and that has to do with things like state aid or government funds, because the EU would like the UK to sort of make sure that we maintain a level playing field so that it doesn't become all of a sudden much more attractive, much less attractive for companies to set up on either side of the sea. So that's a hot topic, as well as fishery. So fishing rights just remain on the table, and I think as long as we haven't found sort of a common ground there, it's really difficult to sort of estimate what the other agreements would be. So those are two hot topics that Brussels cannot agree on. However, no matter what they agree on those two issues, there are three things that are for sure going to change come January 1st. That is that no matter what happens, we will have the introduction of a border procedure. That means the end of free movement between the UK and the EU when it comes to goods and when it comes to people. That means that as a business, you have to make sure that you comply with all the customs formalities. Now, those are different for both sides of the sea. So the UK has their own border procedures, the EU has their own border procedures, where that gives the UK a little bit more freedom to say, well, you know, the first 6 months, we will not be doing any checks, or we won't check your customs declarations. The EU cannot do that. So no matter if you're coming into the EU into the EU in Belgium or in France or in Spain or in the Netherlands or what have you, they do have to comply to EU rules and regulations. So there will be customs checks. So as a business, you need to be prepared for that. The second issue that is also a certainty is that there will be an introduction of tariffs on goods on either side. So if you're a UK business and now you can trade at a no tariff rate with the rest of the EU, that will change. So your product is most likely going to become more expensive. And thirdly, and this I think will be relevant for a lot of you here today, is that by exiting the EU, the UK and UK businesses will also lose the majority of their EU funds. And this is, I understand this can have many implications, especially in the sort of medical and pharmaceutical field. The message that our government and with us many other governments are sending to companies and to individuals is prepare for Brexit as best as you can. There are many websites that can guide you. There are service providers that can help you with that. And make sure you understand what you can or what you should do. The light at the end of the tunnel here is that we can help. And we might have some solutions for some of you here today and that maybe you weren't aware of, but that we can definitely help you with. And that's also why we're here today. So going back to East Netherlands, where are we? What are we? So I think coming from the UK, you might be aware of where the Netherlands is situated. But just to reiterate, we are very attractive for many companies because we have a very favorable position within Europe and also in outreach to the wider European market. That's something we cannot change, so we can actually easily take pride in this because it was just something that was given to us. We didn't really do much for this. Then zooming into East Netherlands and OostNL as an organization, who are we? We are an economic development agency for 2 provinces of Gelderland and Overijssel. And if you come to know us better, I will help you in the pronunciation of those 2 names. What do? We stimulate sustainable economic growth in our region, and we don't do this alone, but we do this in active cooperation with innovation centers, with nonprofit organizations, with local government, with provincial government, national officials and agencies, and national government. We actively attract foreign businesses to our region, and we help them across the board, not only in the process of setting up, but also once they've established here. There are many incentives and perks that you can make use of once you're an established business in our region. We do a lot in the field of capital and investment. So we provide financial support to current investors. We help with any financial issues. And we do this also in a process of innovation. So we have a business development department that's really active and that helps companies, that also advocates for businesses in our region, for example, in the European Union. And we help them with internationalization. Both Rick and myself are speaking to you from the international department of our agency. And everything we do is aimed towards positive and sustainable societal impact. And that's also reflected on the focus sectors that we have. So just to give you an idea, as a region, we're a pretty large region insofar as you can say that for a country the scale of the Netherlands. But we do set ourselves apart even nationally in our 4 focus sectors. Those are sectors that we're very strong in. The first one is food around the area of Wageningen. Then today, obviously, we talk about health. We have a very extensive health sector with a very extensive ecosystem that Rick will tell you more about. And then we have tech and energy as strong sectors. And obviously, there's a lot of crossover and overlap. Within those sectors, when talking about businesses and when helping businesses set up, we sort of differentiate between different activities. Those are marketing, sales. They can be research development. We have a lot of space in regards to maybe some of the bigger cities in the West. So we do find that there's a lot of production side, but also distribution and logistics sides. But obviously there can also be smaller offices in terms of, maybe support centers. And then what we do in terms of foreign direct investment and trade sort of is also cross-cutting through all of these themes and all of these activities. As an organization, we have core businesses that focus on what we summarize as the 3 I's. Those are innovate, and that's done by our business development department, just offering knowledge and help for especially SMEs in access to funding or subsidies. We do things like networking, one-to-one contacts, anything that's market access related, our business developers do. And as a company settled in our region, you can always apply to any of the services that they or that we as an organization offer. And those are also lined out in on our website, so that might be interesting to discover if you have any questions about that. We have a capital department that deal with any invest or finance related issues. So as an organization, we can do direct investment into a company. We always do that with a market partner. And we especially do that for innovations that might be so innovative or new or maybe risky that they cannot easily get funding from an established partner such as a bank. But where we do see a lot of potential, we do have the capacity to directly invest in them, become a shareholder for however long of a term that we agree on, and then sell our shares once we've decided, you're mature enough to fly on your own, or we've sort of gotten, the interest out of it that we sort of envisioned with this investment. Where we cannot directly invest in ourselves, we do also work with, for example, business angels for investments. We work with portfolio investments. We work in broader sort of financing and investment schemes to make sure that businesses in our region do get the capital that they need. And also, we've recently reopened the loan for new establishers. That is new, and that is something that as a foreign company coming into this region, you can apply for. And obviously there's certain conditions, but we'll guide you through that process should that be interesting for you. And then finally, we have an international department. Myself and Rick work there. What we do is we offer foreign companies a soft landing in our region. So if foreign expansion should be something that is interesting to you or that would be a next step for you, then we take you as a project or a case, and we just sit down with you and we see what your needs and requirements are and take you through the whole step, through every step of the way, according to whatever it is that you need. We can make the right introductions into the ecosystems we have here, into service providers or potential partnerships. And we do things like business, matchmaking. We do fact-finding trips. But once you're set up here, you might also be interested in taking part in some of our trade activities. So maybe once that's possible, again, trade missions, networking events, anything that helps you access new markets. And everything we do, because we're a government-funded agency, everything we do is free of charge, is fully confidential, and is always tailored to your needs or requirements. So just to give you an idea, what can we do in practical terms? Last year, our organization has helped 50 foreign companies in the process of establishing in the region. That has created 1,100 new jobs, has generated 30 million euros of investments in our region. How do we do this? So what could you expect if you decide to go into talks with us to come this way? We do things like site selection for you at a distance or a joint venture partner search. We organize fact-finding visits, and these days we've even done that recently. We advise on potential international acquisitions, but we also consult regarding government regulations and innovation programs that might be interesting for you or that you might benefit from. We provide information on financing. So some of the examples I've already given. the right industrial structure for you. We give you information about the labor climate here, about education, about the sort of broader environment that you would take part in. That can also include information about things like international schools if we're talking about relocation. We introduce you to the right networks, and we do have a few very attractive ecosystems that provide excellent opportunities. And again, Rick will zoom in on that. We can introduce you to the right service providers, to contacts on governmental levels, both national, regional, international. And so basically, we support companies in the entire process of internationalization, but also an establishment in the region, and really making sure that you get your feet on the ground and get roots here. And like I said, we do this for free for you. It's always confidential. It's always tailored to your needs, and we can step in at whatever level you're at. So just to give you a little bit of background about our relation with the UK, we have very close ties with the Netherlands Foreign Investment Agency that is established in The Hague for their headquarters, as well as they have an office in London. So if you can always get support both from us as well as from someone that's in the UK right now. We do this as part of the Invest in Holland network, and that's basically the NFIA along with all the other regional development agencies in the Netherlands. So we help companies just for the country, not necessarily only for East Netherlands. Although in the health sector, we might be a very interesting potential location for companies. We have a very extensive network of honorary consuls in the UK that we closely align with, and also the Netherlands Business Support Offices. So that's very active in Manchester. That helps us also with eyes and ears on the ground, and also can give you, as a British company, some support. We have close connections with the British Embassy and the Department for International Trade in The Hague. Good cooperation with the local enterprise partnerships throughout the country. And like I said, there are business support organizations that are British or Dutch that are either in the UK or in the Netherlands. And that includes, for example, the NBCC, Netherlands British Chamber of Commerce. If I look at our region, we have about 100 British companies right now that are companies that have a British parent that are established in our region, and we make sure that we keep very close connections with those as well. So sometimes we'll have a call just checking in, how are you doing? That's part of our investor relations program. And whatever signs that we get from them, we pick up on, and we really do help companies in our region with whatever issues that they have at hand. And just looking at our organization again, we do have one person that's responsible for British relations in the form of myself. So if anything, this talk today is really an invitation to you. Please be in touch with us with whatever questions that you have, if they're Brexit related, or if they're business growth related, or if you want introductions into certain ecosystems. Do get in touch with us, because we'd love to help you out. We really are after a good continued relationship with the UK for the interest of both sides. So that's what we're here for. And again, just to give you an idea of what does the process of expansion, international expansion, look like, that begins with just being in touch. Maybe after the session of today, you're interested to just learn a little bit more, set up a call or something. And if we decide that expansion is something that could be of interest for your business, then we do an intake with you. Based on that, we offer you maybe a slide deck or a bid book, just to give you a broader context of the opportunities here, but also potential locations. We do site selection or partner search. We can organize a fact-finding trip, hopefully soon get you over here in person, or we can do that digitally. we follow up on that. Hopefully you decide that this could be an interesting step to grow your business. Then you come here, you sign all the documents. We have what we call a confirmation letter, which basically confirms, yes, this new business has set up in the region. And then we do a lot of free promotional support for you, introduce you to whoever you need or want to be introduced to, and you become part of our investor relations network. That is in a nutshell how that goes. Obviously, we'll talk you through and be with you every step of the way once that applies. So thank you very much for being here today, for hopefully being in touch with us. You can always reach out to me. My information is listed on the slide below. And now for a much more interesting talk, I will introduce you to, or first back to Niels and then to my colleague Rick, who is an expert in the health sector in our region. So thank you. And I really hope to, well, be in touch and see more of you all today.
Thanks, Marloes, for a very useful whistle-stop tour of what East Netherlands does. I suggest we progress right away with Rick's presentation and then do a Q&A for the both of you afterwards. So Rick, also, thanks very much for joining us today. And the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. And let's see if we can get the presentation going. There we go. Should be able to see something right now.
Yes, we can.
Yes. Well, welcome Greater Manchester. Welcome to the East of the Netherlands. Today I will tell you something about our health cluster. As Marloes mentioned, we're both colleagues working for the East Netherlands Development Agency, where Marloes focuses more on actually UK companies. I focus more on a theme, the theme of health. Well, that's my specialty, sort of say. Hopefully, by this presentation, you have an idea of what the cluster is all about and if this could be interesting to your business. But first, something else. I'm not sure if you had breakfast already or it's about the time for second breakfast. But the next slide will actually make you hungry, so be prepared. There we go. At least most of the Dutch people will become a little bit hungry seeing this picture. These are actually some of our famous Dutch delights. And as you travel to the Netherlands from time to time, you might know them. I haven't seen much response yet in the chat box, so I think this is a great opportunity to actually check if you are awake and active in this morning's session. So from top left corner, who thinks what this delicious delight is? And let's see if we can get active in the chat.
I think we have a couple of responses already.
All right, Niels, I can't see the actual responses, but do we have the right one? Because I'm sure you know it.
I do indeed, and we have the right response, bitterballen.
All right, the bitterball. Then in the middle, the top middle, is a tricky one. And again, Niels, you are the one who has the chat in front of him, I guess.
Yeah, it's remarkable. There's silence.
There's a silence. All right.
Yeah.
Well, then I give you the opportunity to score the point.
Yeah, it's interesting, I think, because this one, I think, is in the category of stuff. So I think every national cuisine has some things that, you know, they are extremely proud of, but are never actually make it across the border. So this is one example, oliebollen.
Yeah, and we actually eat them with New Year's Eve, actually. Well, the top right corner, I'm sure everybody knows, is our famous Dutch beer brand Heineken. Then in the bottom left corner, I think this is actually a big export product to the UK as well, isn't it? So You should know it, people.
Yes, licorice. So drop in Dutch.
Yeah, there you go. Well, then the bottom middle one, I think that's an easy one.
Yeah, so a couple of people have answered waffle with maple.
Brilliant. Well, I think it is a stroopwafel, but I'm not sure if there's an actual English word for it.
Someone has actually now entered stroopwafel.
Ah, brilliant. All right, and last but not least, the bottom right picture.
So I've got a couple of responses. So macaroon from Robert, I'm afraid that's not correct.
No, we can't say that's correct.
Nope. Then from Jonathan, Christmas biscuit. I'm afraid again, that's not correct.
No, well, it's not correct, but it's in the right time of the year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, getting closer now.
Getting closer.
Yeah. So from Robert now we have Sinterklaas.
Well, that's indeed the party where we well, the fest we celebrate and use this item.
I think you will have to explain the rest, Rick.
Yeah. All right. Well, these are pepper nuts. I'm not sure if it's the English word, but in Dutch it's pepernoten, and it's actually it's related to our Dutch fest Sinterklaas. And well, Sinterklaas is an event we celebrate every year at the 5th of December. He and his pals, in his mates Black Pete. We can't call him Black Pete anymore, obviously, but we call him Pete these days. And Pete is the one throwing these little biscuits around the floor for children to pick up and eat, obviously. So these are some examples of our Dutch delights. And well, as a Dutch society, we love them. It's part of our culture, and eating them, we eat them a lot. But obviously there are some downsides to it as well. This might sound like a joke, but it isn't. Because our healthcare system is not sustainable, looking at the developments in our society. And we're becoming more fat, eating all these things. We're becoming older, our population is getting older and face more chronic diseases. Healthcare costs are rising each year, and it's expected to be 31% of our GDP in 2040. So next to that, the shortage of healthcare professionals become more and more visible in our daily lives, especially in this day and age of COVID-19. Well, there's no doubt that medical technology and innovation are needed to address all these challenges. And we hope that you, on the other side of the screen, can actually contribute to that. Well, within medical technology, there's a lot going on in the Netherlands. But within East Netherlands, we have a focus on 6 specific topics, and that's artificial intelligence, digital health and data, medical imaging, minimal invasive surgery, regenerative medicine, and robotics. And if we split down our cluster, we have actually 2 big clusters that could be of interest to you guys. That's our digital health ecosystem in Nijmegen region, which is in the yellow spot. And we have a medtech cluster in Twente, Enschede, which is the orange spot. Well, to give you just an idea of how far or how close by we actually are, we're not that far away. I've worked with parties in Manchester a lot, in several projects the last couple of years. And from door to door, I was traveling 3.5 to 4 hours. So actually, we're not that far away, especially not if you look at it from a global perspective. Well, first let us zoom in a little bit on the digital health ecosystem in Nijmegen. Nijmegen is the oldest city of the Netherlands, but also the most innovative one when it comes to digital health. The city has the largest agglomeration of digital health companies in the Netherlands, with an excellent ecosystem to thrive your business. On the one side, you will see a composition of bigger medtech firms, bigger digital health firms, some SMEs, some startups, and several ecosystem parties who are active in this field in Nijmegen. Nijmegen is home to Health Valley. Health Valley is the biggest life science and health network in the Netherlands. And Nijmegen is also home to Rockstart Health, which is an accelerator program for digital health startups. And actually is an accelerator which is ranked in the top 10 of accelerator programs worldwide when it comes to health. So they're actually known around the world. Well, next to a cluster of businesses, there is some scientific foundation as well. We have several internationally known research institutes who are active in the field of digital health. For example, Radboud University has a strong tradition of high quality and internationally accredited education and research, especially when you look at the field of AI, machine learning, and big data in healthcare. They could be an interesting collaboration partner in research projects. Then we have Radboud UMC, which is the Universal Medical Center in Nijmegen. And their mission is to have significant impact on healthcare, patient-centered, providing patient-centered care. They're an innovation adapter, sort of say, and eager to work with private partners in developing new solutions. And I will come up with some examples later in this presentation. And the third one, which is also very interesting, is the Donders Institute. This is a research center devoted to understanding the human cognition and behavior in health and disease. And they're actually ranked #1 when it comes to this field worldwide. So if you are active in the field of cognition and brain behavior, these are the guys you want to work with in this field. Well, the Netherlands is known for their open innovation culture. And by open innovation culture, I mean we are very keen as research institutes to work with private partners. We're actually a front runner in public-private partnerships in research projects, especially in the field of digital health in Nijmegen. And one that I would like to point out is actually the Thera Lab. Thera Lab is a collaboration between Thirona, which is a startup, Delft Imaging Systems, an SME, and Radboud UMC. And the mission of their lab is to perform world-class research to strengthen healthcare with innovative imaging solutions. This lab strives to crack medical images with the aid of deep learning. And actually, they want to support clinicians in decision-making based on the algorithm they develop. Well, these are all examples of projects where private parties and public parties closely work together on a level playing field, trying to make impact in healthcare together. Then we go 100 kilometers to the east and we land in what's called Twente, which is actually the name for a small region there. This is the Twente focuses more on the medtech ecosystem, and medtech in the broadest way of what you can think of. And this is actually an overview of all parties involved in the Twente region when it comes to medtech. And you see several companies, you see several research institutes, ecosystem parties, but also a lot of healthcare institutions that are keen on working with innovation and I really have an innovative character, sort of say. And the beauty of this overview, actually, that all these parties that are named within this logo are actually within a 20-mile radius of Twente. So it's a very concentrated, concentrated area full of all sorts of parties active within medtech. And it's actually a perfect place to produce or to design, if you have an idea to how to develop a medical device, to design your device, manufacture your device, and distribute your device. And these are some industry partners that could help you in the whole process of developing your medical device and selling your medical device from A to Z. And some insights in the medtech cluster. So why is this actually so special? Well, the University of Twente, which is in the center of Twente, is the most entrepreneurial university of the Netherlands, with the largest number of spin-off companies, of which 50% is actually medtech related. There's a strong focus on nanotechnology, microfluidics, lab on a chip, organ on a chip, and also artificial intelligence, e-health in combination with health robotics. Well, due to the power of the ecosystem, the TechMed Innovation Hub is actually mentioned by the European Commission as an example for others. So it actually has a golden stamp, sort of say, well, this is how you an ecosystem, a thematic ecosystem, should look like. And we actually have been granted a large European subsidy project. I think it was around 16 million euros in the field of healthcare robotics last year. There's an output of the university. Last year, 6 patents were handed in. We delivered 3 spin-off companies and approximately 500 publications in the field of medical technology. The Netherlands actually is ranked 2nd for export of medical devices in Europe, and the Netherlands ranks 4th worldwide for patent applications in medical technology. And just bear in mind that we're such a small country and actually a 4th place when it comes to this one. Well, this is actually a highlight of the medtech ecosystem in Twente. It's the Technical Medical Center. And the Technical Medical Center is a leading innovation hub impacting healthcare by excellent research, innovation, and educational programs. It's equipped with state-of-the-art infrastructure, ranging from research labs, preclinical test beds, and simulated hospital environments to validate medtech innovations. So it's actually a shared facility where you can test your medical innovation with end users. Facility sharing is actively encouraged both within and outside the university campus. So when you're in the TechMed Center, you will see all stakeholders, shareholders will be there, from nurses to medical designers to patients. It's all centered in this place. It's actually a vibrant breeding place for medical technology. Well, the TechMed Center would like to work with the industry, with hospitals, with governments and insurance agencies on the development of these new solutions. Well, we zoomed in on 2 specific ecosystems with regional strengths and benefits. Looking to the Netherlands as a country, there are some interesting benefits as well to establish your medtech business here. So it's not only R&D driven, but we have some other interesting benefits as well. The Netherlands is the #1 importer and exporter of medical devices in Europe. You can say that we actually are an international marketplace and a logistic hub for medical devices. Providing respirators, ventilators, the last couple of months is an excellent example 54% of the world's respiratory aids were exported through the Netherlands. I think that's a good example of what is happening here. Then, well, we're literally a gateway to Europe. Marloes already showed this one. We have a very central location and excellent infrastructure. Mind you that 59% of Europe's most lucrative customers are just around the corner. And when you look at Europe as a market, it's a market worth of billions. It's the second largest market after the United States. And you won't be alone on the European market. 27,000 medical technology companies are active here in a market worth 115 billion euros. So it actually makes sense to be around here. And as indicated before, we're not only a land of logistics, we're a land of R&D and innovation. We have a lot of very bright and intelligent people who develop and have developed the most impactful innovations in healthcare. The microscope, the ECG, the artificial kidney. These are all examples of innovations that were invented in the Netherlands. The Netherlands is home for outstanding research institutes and is ranked 4th in global medtech patent applications. We invest a lot in research from a national perspective. We invest a lot in research and innovation in the field of health and tech. And I've already given you some examples of some public and private partnerships, but I think this is truly one of the key benefits of key considerations if you want to go to Europe and look for these kind of partnerships. It's one of the key reasons for foreign companies to decide, well, if I want to develop a medical device, I would like to set up the business in the Netherlands. The entrepreneurial mindset and the open innovation culture is actually thriving factors in innovation. Well, next to that, we have some financial schemes, both on a regional level as on a national level, to support collaboration between public and private parties. Well, and take into account that on top of that, there are numerous financial schemes within the European Union as well. So there's always a way to finance a good project. Well, the Dutch government promotes research and development, as mentioned, and we tried to do that using several R&D incentives. I won't go in too much detail right now, but these are all incentives well, the Dutch government implemented to pave the way for innovation. Qualitative regulatory bodies. Well, if you are active in the field of health and you're active in the field of development of medical devices, you already know that you have to go through medical device regulation. In the European Union, the CE mark is the medical device manufacturer's claim that a product meets the requirements of all European directives and regulations. And it's legal requirement for placing a device on the European market. The notified bodies are the companies that conduct these assessments. And from 2021 onwards, only medical device regulation EU notified bodies designated by the European Commission will be able to conduct these CE marking. Up until now, 25% of all designated notified bodies are Dutch. So 25% of all European designated notified bodies. So you need these organizations within your medtech value chain, and 25% of them are all based in the Netherlands. This emphasizes the notion that the Netherlands is the place for qualitative regulatory sciences in medical technology. And the Netherlands is a breeding place for startups, globally the 4th best country for businesses in the world. We have 400 plus venture capitalist funds, and last year 339 million euro was invested in healthcare startups last year. We have a dynamic cluster of 7,500 startups and 85 plus accelerators and incubators. And as mentioned, Rockstar Digital Health in Nijmegen is one of those. Well, before we close this Zoom meeting in a few minutes, I would like to give you a take-home message. If you consider Europe as your next business destination and you would like to be in a place which is easily accessible, surrounded by like-minded, innovative people and inspiring companies, close to MDR selected notified bodies, and looking for collaboration down the R&D value chain, we would be happy to welcome you and show you around in our region. And Marloes already told you how we can help. I won't repeat that again. We can help you we can take you by the hand, we can show you around in the region, make the right introductions and help you find the perfect premises to build your business and move your business forward. And as mentioned, all services are confidential, tailor-made and free of charge. And these are the happy folks that would love to help you in that process. Thank you for your attention, and we would be happy to answer any of your questions right now.
Many thanks, Rick. And we're actually not going to close the Zoom call anytime soon because we have another speaker coming up. But obviously we're going to first have some time for Q&A. So, and I'll leave it to the two of you how you will answer the questions between the two of you. So there's a question from Zoa in the chat. So many thanks for the interesting talks. May I ask, what are the key strategic domains / sectors of focus for the investor development program? And also within your medtech and digital health clusters, what are the current gaps in expertise or technologies that could potentially accelerate interest and partnership from the UK? And the final question is a subsidiary model permitted for UK companies interested in setting up in the setting up in the Netherlands? So let's start with the first one first. So it's 3 questions. So what are the key strategic domains / sectors of focus for the investor development program?
Rick, should I take the first and maybe the last, and you take the second question?
Sure.
Well, thank you, Zora, for your question. My first answer is really short. Are there any key strategic domain sectors of focus in the investor development program? If you're referring to the investor relations program that you automatically enroll in once you've set up in our region, the answer is there is none. So whatever the type of activity or business that you have, we will treat you just the same. So we do find that a lot of those businesses that are set up here fall in either of those 4 categories, just because it makes sense, because we have extensive ecosystems that make it such an attractive place to expand to. But obviously there are many companies that we don't clearly define in a certain sector, but they're still on our radar and we're still in touch with them and we can still connect them according to their needs. So there's no requirement in that sense. I hope that answers your question. If not, either maybe unmute yourself or type your follow-up question, I think.
Okay, thanks, Marloes. So the second question was, so I think we've seen quite some impressive capabilities in the Netherlands and East Netherlands specifically. But within the medtech and digital health clusters, where would you see current gaps where, you know, UK businesses or organizations could potentially provide expertise that doesn't exist?
All right. Well, there's not, let me put it like this: that there's not an actual research done of where are the gaps. But from my personal perspective, I think, especially for point of care diagnostics, companies that are active there, I think that there are a lot of opportunities there, and also for remote. How do you say this? Remote diagnostics, remote monitoring of patients. I think there's these are two trends that I see at this moment that hospitals or nurse caregivers are actually looking for right now. And yeah, I think these are two topics that could be relevant for UK companies.
Okay, so you would say if any company that specializes in point of care testing or remote monitoring would have opportunities probably in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Thanks. So the third question, would a subsidiary model be permitted for UK companies that are interested in getting a foothold in the Netherlands?
If you're talking about setting up or opening a subsidiary of your British company in our region, absolutely. We see this all the time. There are many subsidiaries that operate from the Netherlands. I'm not 100% sure on the exact legal form of Robert's company, Robert, who will speak next, but they've set up a branch or a subsidiary in the Netherlands as well. So he will share his experience in setting up in the Netherlands and hopefully give you some insight in how that went. But yeah, absolutely, that's what we do. And also maybe to add to Rick's answer about where are the gaps, I think, again, those might be gaps, but that doesn't mean there's no opportunities for UK companies in maybe fields that are further developed or that have more business activity in our region. I think Rick has highlighted a few key areas, or maybe you do find other businesses as well, but still, because there's more activity in that sense, that makes it a very attractive ecosystem to operate from. So I do see opportunities just in the broader sector anyway.
Okay, thanks. And I see also a thanks from Zoe in the chat. Before we move on with Robert's presentation, that I think nicely follows on from this discussion, perhaps a more general question, because I think, one of the things that will be in the back of people's minds when they are listening to your talks and considering this is that the Netherlands is a relatively small country. And if you're considering to, establish yourself abroad, it seems to make more sense to pick one of the larger countries if you're making that step anyway. So go to Germany, for instance, or France, because that potentially opens up a much larger market. So could you help us a little bit with, what should be people's considerations? Why should they choose the Netherlands?
Well, I will answer this first, and then you can add your answer as well. I think the Netherlands and the people in the Netherlands are actually innovation adopters, and I can give you some examples of how we adopt innovation. Netflix, when they were trying to conquer the European markets, they pointed out the Netherlands as their first point of entry because they knew that we are, an adaptive country. The same goes for Disney, who now has their own streaming services as well. They picked the Netherlands as their first market because we are innovation adapters, especially when you see it from a consumer's point of view. I think these two examples emphasize, I think, the mindset of the folks in Holland.
Right. Okay. So you're saying the Netherlands are a country of early adopters. So if you're coming with some new technology, that's the best place to start, really.
Yeah, actually it is. And if you look at, I'm sure you all use WhatsApp in the UK as well, right?
We do.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the numbers and the adoptiveness of WhatsApp, also in the older ages groups, then the Netherlands is far number one. For example, my grandma she's 85 right now. She uses WhatsApp on a daily basis actually to communicate with me. I think these are all examples that throughout the entire society in the Netherlands, we are keen on adopting new technologies that make our life easier.
Okay, great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And thanks for that. I was obviously hoping that you would say because we're really good at football, but I think this is also a very good motivation, perhaps even a better motivation indeed. To consider the Netherlands.
Well, we actually won something at football, so.
Staying away from any football, I really don't know anything about that. I think what is especially relevant for British companies choosing the Netherlands is like-mindedness in not only business culture, but culture broader speaking. I mean, even within the EU, we always say, you know, we're European or that's a European thing to do, but still we notice so many differences, slight subtle differences. And those differences make for British companies that it's a lot easier to not only get your feet on the ground here in terms of just the process and maybe the bureaucratic procedures that you have to follow of setting up a business, as well as, you know, things like incentives. Obviously, you know, we might have a very attractive business climate to settle in with certain incentives that obviously take place or take part in your decision making. But I think just knowing how to do business and the easy use of language, I think that's been feedback from companies that have chosen our location, you know, saying, okay, it was so much quicker for me also in my communication to set up here, as well as a logistical position. Because of course, you know, if you're just looking at targeting the Dutch market versus maybe the French or the German, yes, we are a smaller share, but the ease of access to other bigger markets is just so much easier once you've set up. So not only are we geographically very close to Germany, for example, but the step from the UK to the Netherlands is smaller than the step from the UK to Germany, and the step from the Netherlands to access the German market is a lot easier as well. So there's a lot of easy overflow in that sense.
Okay, yeah. So thanks very much both for your presentations and for the Q&A. And I would encourage everyone on the call to get in touch with Marloes and Rick if you have any further questions. And with that, we're going to move on to our final presentation from Robert from Real Health. So Robert, many thanks for joining, and we're looking forward to your talk.
Thanks, Niels, and thank you everybody else. Good to see everyone today. And having plotted out what I was going to say, I'm now going to respond to what I've been hearing as well and pick up some of those questions. I think the first thing to say is that we are a health provider. So we're not a technology or an implant or something that we are bringing into other health companies or the health landscape. So a quick bit of background around Real Health. We were founded in 2004 in the UK by two doctors, a spinal surgeon and a pain doctor. We came out of an idea from, well, a theory from Oxford University and the Nuffield Orthopaedic Centre around how you deal with chronic pain. And we are still seen as being very innovative because we don't believe in surgery, we don't believe in touching people, we don't believe in injecting, we don't believe in drugs. So actually almost the opposite of everything that traditional healthcare provides. And we are innovative because we're one of the few companies in the world doing it. We run cognitive-led pain management programs, 2-week, 4-week residential programs. And actually we are addressing some of the issues that Rick raised about how do you use innovation to address long-term problems. And obviously, low back pain and back pain is one of the great chronic diseases, one of the main chronic disease problems that the world is facing. At one point, before they reclassified half of the patient group into psychological problems, it represented 60 to 70% of the work absenteeism in the UK, and the same in Holland, to be fair. We opened up in Holland 2 years later, in 2006, so we've been trading now for 14 years. And the first thing to say is that we did that by partnering with a hospital. So the St. Martin's Clinic, which is in East Holland, is the primary, secondary and tertiary orthopedic centre in Holland. Too many primary, secondaries and tertiaries in there, I'm sorry. But they are the leading orthopedic hospital in the whole of Holland. They receive patients from all over Holland, first time, but often trying to correct other issues that other hospitals have done. And they recognized very early on that they wanted to be the premium orthopedic hospital or orthopedic deliverer in Holland. They needed to deliver what Real Health offers. Although our program is very simple, we are completely people-based. So we have a psychologist, a physiotherapist, and an occupational therapist. We have a very complicated patient group, and most healthcare in the UK and in Holland works in silos, and we broke those silos down straight away. So St. Martin's Clinic identified that they wanted to offer our program. We were doing it very successfully, and they invited us to join with them. So I think that was a critical thing for why we came to Holland. I would agree with Marios about Holland being small, but very appropriate for British companies to come into. I would agree there's a fundamental difference, and I find it still rather depressing, and maybe the pandemic crisis will change that. But the UK healthcare still works in silos. Sadly, you still have consultants who do extraordinary work in the NHS, but have very large private practices, and that causes some conflicts of interest. We've not encountered any of that in Holland. It's been a very innovative, receptive, collaborative environment to work in. As I said, we are academically based, we are evidence-based, and we are clinically led, and we insist on being published all the time. So we do publish, well, over the 15, 16 years we've been going, we are frequently published to continue that growth and strength. So we came to Holland because of our relationship with the St. Martin's Clinic. That was very important. The other thing that's very important for healthcare providers in Holland is having a relationship with the insurance companies. I can't remember the exact science of it or the history of it, but about 16 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, the Dutch government said, oh, this healthcare stuff's quite complicated. So rather than us running it, what we'll do is we will delegate the financial running of healthcare to the insurance companies, which in some countries like America is a disaster, but I must say in Holland has been very good, I would say. You build a relationship with, again, innovative, dynamic insurance companies, and you work together. And that has been transformational, I think, for our arrival in Holland and working in Holland. So to me, a relationship with insurance companies, if you're opening up in frontline healthcare, is very important. Again, that's come to us through the partnership with the St. Martin's Clinic. And in fact, in our 16 years, or 14 years, sorry, in Holland, we've often looked at going separately from the St. Martin's Clinic, but actually every time the insurance companies say, no, you really must carry on being partnered with the St. Martin's Clinic. We respect them hugely. You're a sort of strange, small British company that's just turned up. So we know, because of the quality threshold that the St. Martin's Clinic is setting, we're very happy to be working with you. So that's a really important part of what we do. The other thing I think is worth mentioning between UK and Holland is employment relations. The Dutch are extraordinarily good in looking after their staff. The British are extraordinarily bad in the first 2 years of employment in looking after their staff. So again, I mean, I was part of the Classic FM launch in Holland, so I've worked in Holland before. But what we've done is the St. Martin's Clinic actually employ all of our staff, and then I pay the St. Martin's Clinic. And that works very well because they can deal with all of the sides of it, which are a complete mystery to me, and still a mystery to me 14 years on. So to me, that's very important. Talking about innovation, I think how you get funded in Holland is through a dot. It's how you get a code. And the insurance companies are very good at working with companies on creating an innovation dot that then runs for 2 or 3 years, where you can be experimental. And if it all works well and you hit the guidelines that have been set, that becomes a permanent dot. I think one of the important things about the Dutch market is it is a relatively small country, 20 or just under 20 million people. But there is a real understanding from the health department, from the government, that actually we have to change the way we deliver healthcare. We can't just doing it the same old way. And they are very, very focused on identifying and putting patients on the correct pathways. So we do an awful lot of work on working with the government. We actually set up a big healthcare deal with all people in low back pain and back pain across the whole of Holland, and coming up with recommendations and companies who in theory are competitive, but working in the best interest of the patient. So that focus on the correct pathway is very important. Oddly, our DOT, our funding model, is not for rehabilitation. We are considered as conservative surgery, which you'd never get in the UK. So the fact that the Dutch accept that we are an alternative to surgery and our funding is called conservative surgery, it is not rehabilitation. As I said, there are many countries around the world where that would never happen, particularly in America. So I think working in Holland has been great for us. We are always looking at where we're going and what to expand. And the expansions that we're looking at are twofold. We can either expand products, or we can expand geographically. We are based in southeast Holland, in a small village called Bergendal, but part of Oostenel's territory. We think that in Holland, Real Health could probably have 3, maximum 4 units in total. So we are looking to do that. But we will always do it in partnership with the SMK. We'll always do it in partnership with other doctors. And then we're looking at products. So we are in what I would call tertiary care. So we're almost like the end game, which is rather odd, particularly in the UK, because Bupa and AXA don't fund chronic care, but they do actually fund Real Health in the UK. So we are going into secondary care with SMK, and we're also looking at the primary care. We are launching an online app. It's not an app that you'd get from the Apple Store for 20 cents. This is blended care. Blended care is very important in our territory and in the area we work. It's blended care with physiotherapists and occupational therapists. And it would actually cost £500 to support the psychosocial element of chronic management by frontline clinicians. And that's something that we're working on. We're working with a physiotherapy network, the Kerma network in Holland, which is like the creme de la creme of physiotherapists. They have about 2,400 physiotherapists, all have to go through a certain validation to be part of the network. So that focus on quality and expertise is very important, and the Dutch government and the Dutch healthcare systems really, really look for that. There's been talk of Brexit. I will try not to be too much of a Remainer, but Brexit is a disaster. But actually, we are a British company, and Real Health NL is a wholly owned subsidiary of a British company. But we are registered in Holland. We pay our taxes in Holland. We actually work with the Chamber of Commerce in Holland. And there is a balancing of the taxes currently between the UK and Holland. The only time that impacts us is when the exchange rates are bouncing around and we might have, say, 100,000 euros in a bank account and it's worth less or more. But actually, we are well set up to deal with Brexit because we are a separate subsidiary, although linked back to the UK. And that ability, or the fact that we're already paying our taxes in Holland, I think addresses that. By being a British company with a European subsidiary, we are still able to get European grants. And in fact, we are in the middle of a big European scheme across 5 businesses. And actually the university in Nijmegen, the university on the coast as well, in Rotterdam. So we are still drawing down European funding, even though we are a British company, and we expect that to carry on afterwards. So I think if you get your structure right and you let Estonel help you set up your structure correctly, Brexit shouldn't have an impact. And I think that's a very important thing to do. Estonel have also helped us look at other markets. We always look at Germany. Germany is a very different healthcare market. It's actually a radically refreshing model as well, where you can walk into any doctor's practice, any hospital, and get treated, so you can travel. And I love going to see the consultants in Germany, where in their waiting room in a university hospital, they might have a public patient, an NHS patient, a private patient, and an academic student. And they're all sitting in the waiting room waiting to see the consultant. So that to me is always an extraordinary moment and thing that you don't often see around the rest of the world. With Estonel, we've also been looking at expanding into Canada and the US, and we actually went on a trade mission that they organized. Twice we've been out there now and are looking at that. So I would agree with what Rick was saying, that Holland welcomes innovation and collaboration, and that's been very clear to us. I think having a subsidiary that is Dutch-based and is paying taxes in Holland is really important. And I think finding partners who can give you credibility and access to insurance companies and working with insurance companies, to me, are hugely important. So I hope that covers the brief I was given. Finished just in time as well, leaves 10 minutes or so for questions. But Niels, I think that's kind of what I was asked to talk about.
Yes, I completely agree. So thanks very much for that, Robert. Very, very useful indeed to see a concrete example of a company that made that step. I think if you went in 2006, that was actually the year where the current system was set up. So before that time, it was different. But from 2006, we had the insurance companies as intermediates. And so that's the system that you've been working on.
Yeah, which is very good. And I think that what's interesting is the insurance companies, as opposed to, I mean, in the UK, sort of the Bupa have 50% of the market, and AXA has whatever, 30% of the market, the private insurers. You know, we have the NHS. The NHS is unique in the UK and is the 5th biggest employer, I think, in the world, or certainly in Europe. But not many people have the NHS, and you know, as a country, sadly, we can't afford the NHS, and this particular political party doesn't quite understand it, that is in power at the moment. But the NHS is extraordinary, and if you're ever really ill in the UK, get straight to the NHS. Don't play around with private healthcare. But in Holland, that mixture, for what is quite a sort of liberal country, that mixture of private healthcare insurance, but delivering good across the country. There's one huge thing that I spotted quite early on, even when we were launching Classic FM in Holland, is that at the moment in the UK, the on costs for your staff are about between 11 and 14% through national insurance, etc. In Holland, it's 50%, or it's 45 to 50%. So although the insurance companies are running the healthcare, me as an employer and the staff as employees, we all have to contribute to those insurance policies, both healthcare, you know, income protection, etc., etc. So that is why I think the healthcare system and the insurance system works so well in Holland, is that sort of mandatory payment contribution from both the employer and the employee.
Yeah, I would agree to that, because indeed it's probably useful for people on the call to know that you pay, and that's not too different actually from the UK. You pay for healthcare directly from your salary, and you have no choice in doing so. So everyone is obliged to pay for health insurance. It's not as in, say, the US, where you can also walk around being uninsured, because that immediately breaks the system. So I would almost say it's perhaps a mixture between what we have in the more liberal economies like the US and what we have in the UK.
Yeah, I think the problem with the UK is it's so hidden because you pay your national insurance and who knows where that's going. I think in Holland, it's very clear as to which element, and although Holland is a very democratic and meritocratic society, you can choose to pay more to have a top up on your healthcare insurance as well. So that's not quite the perfect liberal egalitarian view I have of life, but it works very well.
Yes, it does. It does indeed. I just want to open up for further questions, and let me check whether there's anything in the chat.
Doesn't seem to be anything in the chat. I was looking at that.
No, I don't think so. So unless there are further questions for Robert, I'm going to thank you, as well as Marloes and Rick again. Thanks so much. I hope, Robert, that if people would have any further questions, you'd be happy to be contacted by them. Is that okay?
Yeah, very happy so. Yeah, very happy to. Not a problem.
Okay, great. All right. So with that, thanks everyone for joining the ecosystem meeting today. And we'll see each other again, I think, in January, February. Evie, could you help me?
21st of January.
21st of January. Great. And obviously we will circulate the announcement for that.
Yes, absolutely. And this meeting has been recorded as well, so we'll send that out.
Yes.